Well, if you know so much about it, why don't you write a book? If you heard that before, imagine what it would feel like to say, I did, and here it is. Last month, I made the case that writing a book with co-authors and over a calendar year of recorded conversations is a content strategy every brand should pursue. This time, building on my claim that a book is perhaps the most sophisticated piece of content that your firm can put out there, I'm sharing some thoughts on the writing process itself. But before I dive in, let's think about why. Why write a book? Why take the time to plan, write, edit, and publish a piece of lengthy content that, if you're being honest, won't probably be a bestseller? Again, the reasons are good ones. Taking your brand anthem, that story of who you are, who you help, and pairing it with a topic that you know a lot about is a powerful long-term strategy. A published book builds your firm's reputation for thought leadership, and it helps you define your brand's position in a marketplace filled with noise. This is especially true in professional services, where firms develop their reputation and define their niche through an in-depth knowledge. If you're in law, accounting, or environmental engineering, then knowing everything you can about case law or financial trends or the geographical layout of Southwest Arizona is your bread and butter. But knowing what you do is different from communicating that to everyone else. To put it another way, a book takes all the content that you might be putting out and condenses it into a sophisticated, reputable showcase of your knowledge. Pretty good as far as brand content goes. In fact, I will say that seeing a book with the author on the cover, a listing on Amazon, and a chapter after chapter of in-depth knowledge races way ahead of other kinds of content. A book produces a level of reputational trust that you normally don't see anywhere else. You can hardly make a better investment in your firm's brand and reputation and in your role as a thought leader. With a book to your name, you're more likely to land speaking events or make an impression at the annual convention. Handing someone a book is like handing them a turbocharged resume. It's proof of your knowledge, your proven experience, and your conceptual thinking all rolled into one product. Great, you might be thinking, but do I have what it takes to write it? In last week's video, I gave you a strategy. Take a whole year and plan 12 conversations with your co-authors, one per month. Record each conversation and then draw it from there to write each chapter of your book. Beyond that, I'd like to talk about the writing itself. And the second book writing hack that I can give you is this. Write in a way that gives your book and your overall thinking a backbone. What do I mean by that? I mean that chapter by chapter, page by page, even paragraph by paragraph, write in such a way that gives clear credibility to your thinking, clear credibility to your conclusions, and to your reputation. That's not easy, but it might be more doable than you think because writing a book is a huge commitment. You're probably not writing a book about something unless it's something you really believe. With that in mind, build that backbone by stacking each chapter with particular details that flesh out your thinking. And as you use those details to demonstrate your proven experience, keep everything focused on your target audience. Here's something to try. Say you're telling someone all about your book. A hard-hitting journalist who keeps hitting you with question after question. With each question, they're forcing you to get more particular and even more example-driven. Okay, they say, thinking about what you just told them, how is your take on that different than what I've already heard from others? Can you demonstrate that another way? What exactly do you mean by that? Tell me something you experienced. Give me a story, a model, or a funny anecdote that illustrates your point. Now give me another one. And so on. The more you answer, the more you're responding to an unspoken challenge. You prove it, you prove it, you prove it. And by the time you're done with that conversation, you've probably got a whole chapter's worth of content, or maybe enough for your whole book. Writing with backbone means answering those imaginary questions again and again in a clear, logical way that the average person can understand. Chapter by chapter, paragraph by paragraph, you're showing that your way of thinking is a trustworthy map to your understanding of your profession, your industry, and your unique solutions that you provide in your firm. A book that proves it again and again is one with a backbone. Of course, you shouldn't prove it in a dry monotone, and your book doesn't need to be some dry college textbook. In the same way that your thought process is interesting to you, and it should be if you're willing to write a book about it, Explain it in a way that's genuinely grabbing and interesting to anyone reading along. I'll add this. As a piece of thought leadership, the claims in your book need to be falsifiable. What I mean is that someone reading your book needs to be able to test it out themselves. Does what you say in chapter 1 add up to what you say in chapter 9? It's a scary thought, but keeping everything falsifiable means keeping it grounded, logical, and worthy of someone's undivided attention. It means proving it every step of the way. There's a good reason why people say that good writing is really refined thinking. Refined thinking, built out and polished into a piece of thought leadership, is what you're aiming for. And keep in mind that you don't have to do it alone. Recording a monthly conversation with co-authors at your firm is a great way to distill everyone's knowledge into a refined, falsifiable thought process. Without having to write and edit, everyone weighs in, refining and sharpening the thinking until it's bullet-shaped. Those conversations serve another purpose, making sure everyone is singing the same tune while you carve out your firm's position in the marketplace. The last thing I'll say is this: guard your expectations carefully. Even if your book is brilliant, it faces a harsh reality. Most potential clients won't read every word of it. They'll read the parts that matter to them, or they might not even read it at all. Seeing the book and browsing its contents might be enough to make them go, "Wow, you wrote the book on that? I want you as my firm." So if you're thinking of putting out a brand dictionary, something that will take vast amounts of time, resources, and even budget, keep this in mind. And remember, you're not doing this to publish the next bestseller. Your book is a long-term, powerful way to give you, your thought leadership, and your market position a little bit of monopoly power against your competition. That builds your reputation, and it stakes out your firm's position. That's all I've got for this month. If you love the idea of a book that can build your reputation with your audience, maybe you'd like some help. Having written You Are Remarkable, a book on B2B branding with some incredible people, I know the process back to front. If you need help, you can give the Resound team a shout. You can even check out my book on Amazon to see what the finished product looks like. If you're itching to get recording or writing, that's also great. But don't forget, in all of this, you are remarkable.